Good morning, and thanks for spending part of your day with us wherever you are and whatever you're doing. Hi, I'm John Jerkowitz, and welcome to the inaugural Start Small, Start Now weekly Get Motivated, 15 minutes or so scheduled hangout on air. Boy, that was a mouthful. I started doing this because I was intrigued with a very small group of successful people I've been blessed to deal with. I guess over all my 61 and a half years of life. And they were the folks who were as fresh on Friday at 4 p.m., full of positive motivation, full of energy, full of excitement, full of creativity, as they were at 9 o'clock on Monday morning. I've never heard a TGIF out of their mouths. I've never heard a thank goodness it's hump day out of their mouths. I've just seen this static electric type of energy that shoots off of them and infects everybody that's around them. And I decided to find out why. And what I found out is that each one of those people begins their week with purpose. Now, to those of us sitting in the peanut gallery, I know that's a daunting task. You look at somebody who's lived their life that way for 5, 10, 15 years, and you sit there and think, boy, I could never do anything like that. I was blessed to work with a personal trainer for about 6 months, 4 or 5 years ago. And one of the things she told me was that every January, people flock to a gym, and they expect that they're going to go from a size 14 to a size 0 in a week and a half. And when they don't, they get frustrated, they give up, and they go away. So how do you want to start your week? Maybe it's already begun, and maybe you've got that tinge of positive energy flowing around you. Well, as I said, I've been blessed to be around successful people for a long time. And so I decided to find out what motivates us. And I'd like to share that with you this morning. We're even going to have a visual aid. Or 2, or 3. See, after talking to a lot of learned and successful people, one of the things I found out is that we're motivated by 3 basic emotions. Now, you might say to me, well, John, I'm a glass half full sort of guy or gal. Good. So am I. Matter of fact, just John's opinion, but in 41 years of being in the business world, I found out that we're all half full sort of people. And the first emotion that we're motivated by is fear. And you can pick what you're scared of. You might get up in the morning and you might be getting out of bed and you might be thinking, boy, I've got to hurry up and get in the shower, eat breakfast, brush my teeth, get dressed, get in the car and get to work. Because if I don't, that boss of mine's going to be standing there waiting, and it's going to be one time too many. And the next thing you know, I'm on my way home. Oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I won't have a paycheck. How do I pay my bills? How do I pay my rent? Oh my goodness, everybody's going to think I'm a failure. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Now, you're still a glass half full sort of person, but this is what your glass is half full with. It's half full with fear. And when you take that fear and you allow that fear to drive what you do on a day-to-day basis, that's all you have room for in that glass. Oh, but John, half of that glass needs to be filled. But when you're driven by fear, no matter how high you fill that glass is still going to maintain the same dark, fearful color. I'm not preaching because I'll be honest with you, my life was driven by fear for about 4.5 years. You see, about 5 years ago, I got healthy, lost 75 pounds, ran in 3 5Ks, all at age 57. And then one day, and there's a lot of irony in this story, and then one day, my wife and I were walking out of the grand opening of a health food store. It was raining. and I slipped on the pavement in the parking lot and I hurt my back. I've never had such agonizing and excruciating pain in my life. Slept in the recliner that night. Went to the doctor the next day, gave me a shot of anti-inflammatory, took some x-rays. Told me there was really nothing wrong with me. I'd wrenched my back, and hey, John, you're getting old. Stenosis of the spine starts to happen. But here I'd gone from being completely and totally active to every movement causing me pain. Well, I'll give you the short version. Over the next 4.5 years, I let that pain rule how I thought and what I did. Better not move too quick or it's going to hurt. Better not do this. Better not do that. Better not take a risk. Better not take a chance. And if you've ever had your life driven and motivated by fear, I can tell you it permeates everything. Now just think that when this glass is half full of this dark, murky fear, what your day's like. Second reason we're motivated is by incentive. Now, that just simply means that if I reach a certain point, I'm going to get a certain reward. And I'll be honest with you, I'm motivated by incentive a lot. Boy, if I get a new client, if I'm able to sell this many copies of my book, if I'm supposed to get this many speaking engagements, then I'm going to be able to fill in the blank. There's an incentive for me. The only problem with living by incentive is that it's a much clearer glass and you can see through that. But an incentive stops and ends. And one of the things that I found in my life is that when I'm living by incentive, when I'm living for a certain fixed point on the map, once I get there, there's almost a little bit of a letdown. Now, what do I got to do next? And finally, we're motivated by growth. I was thinking of a story to tell you about this, and I thought of a person I worked with. We worked together at a Fortune 5 company. We started working together in the mid-70s, both as frontline supervisors. And Carl was the kind of person, had a high school diploma, started going to college. Now I'm going to tell you, people laugh at Carl because every time he'd get his grades, he'd bring the slip of paper into work and show everybody, I got B's, I got A's. And Carl got his degree. And then Carl went to work on his master's degree. And then Carl went to work on his doctorate. And 20 years later, by the time I left that company, I was working for Carl. You see, he was over training and development for 3,200 people at the facility we worked in. Carl's half glass, it was half full, but there were no limits to it. That's what growth is. That's how you motivate through growth. That half full glass is clear. It has no limits. And the very last day I worked with Carl, I sat in his office and I said, hey, boss, do me a favor. I've known you from day one. We've been here 20 years together. Tell me, what's your secret? He let a little grin creep over his face and he kind of swiveled in his chair and pointed to a big poster he had hanging behind his desk. Got to remember, this is the early 90s. Everybody had posters. He had a huge poster hanging behind his desk. And that poster had a picture of a person suspended from a rope climbing up a cliff. And below the photo it said, your attitude determines your altitude. And he swiveled in his chair and he pointed at it. You see, the late Zig Ziglar said something that those of us who walk around thinking this way, those of us who walk around with that glass half full of fear, he said we're suffering from a disease, a condition called stinking thinking. Well, that could never happen to me. Well, I'll never get that. Well, I'm not educated enough, rich enough, good looking enough. We all do it. I did it with my back. Better not move. Better take it easy. Oh, you walked a quarter of a mile. You're in an awful lot of pain. Better go sit down, lay down, take a few ibuprofen. Fear limits. And then Ziegler went on to say one time when I heard him speak that stinking thinking leads to hardening of the attitudes. Because once we get in a certain mindset, and once we get in a certain place, unless we're living in that half glass of growth, our attitude's going to harden. Now, what can you do? How can you start your week? Start small. Pick something today, before lunch. Or maybe if you're viewing this on YouTube, pick something at any point in time in your day or even tomorrow. It's never too late to start. And pick one thing that you're going to begin growing in. Share mine with you. I want to do more public speaking. That's one of the goals I have. So I decided that along with doing my regular scheduled hangout on air, the Career Corner, I was going to do this Monday motivation. Well, it helps me do a lot of things. Helps me get comfortable behind the camera, more so. Helps my public speaking. Helps me become more comfortable. It helps me grow. It causes me to create a schedule, because if any of you have planned to hang out on air, you know you just don't hit the start button. Lots of reasons. Are there some incentives in there? Sure. Maybe somebody seeing this is going to pick up the phone, send me an email and say, hey, John, want to come and speak to my group? Is there any fear? No, not really. Not with this. But you're not alone. I have my fears, just like everybody else does. The way you start your week is the way your week's going to end. Oh, I don't have one of those turbans on my head and a crystal ball. You're probably going to slip and fall a few times this week. You're probably going to have people get in your way or not agree with you. They've got stinking thinking all their own. How you react is going to determine how the rest of your week plays out. I'm fond of telling some of my clients that in a perfect world, my 9-year-old granddaughter could run their facility. She'd show up in the morning and walk around and talk to everybody, pat them on the back, and tell them to do a good job. So look at your life and realize what a tremendous potential there is for growth for you when you choose the path that helps you grow the most. So thanks again for spending part of your day with me. I'm John Jerkowitz, and I hope you have a wonderful day.